everybody. It's me, Peter Brown, here with Justin Haywald.
Hey, we're learning how to work these things. Hey, Peter Brown.
Hi.
We're going to be playing some Final Fantasy 15. You've played a lot of this game already. I think we've streamed a lot of different things. What are we going to be doing today that makes this different?
So there are some very high-level dungeons in the game that are optional that you'll really only be able to tackle once you've hit level 55 or 60, with confidence. And so one of them, there's a couple I need to finish. We're going to take you guys through one of them today, the Costlemark Tower. And hopefully I can get to the final boss and beat it. I've not seen him yet.
So you've beat the game.
I've beat the game, but I haven't beaten the optional bosses. And beyond the dungeons like the one I'm going to show you, there are even more secret dungeons, which I will show you the entrance to one of them. Merely finding the entrance is not enough to get inside of it. You actually have to go out of your way and do a little bit extra to get in. We won't cover that today. But
does this include the 72-hour poop sock boss?
Well, yeah, as we found out, I guess that 72 hours was a bit of an overestimation. No, it does not include that. But,
all right.
But yeah, let me hit this button here, load my game, and you can flip over.
All right.
Have you had a chance to play any yet?
I've only played the very intro levels. I haven't dug in as much as I want. Because the store that I ordered this from will not deliver my personal copy until Saturday.
That store being
the official Square Enix store.
That's a shame. Because this game is pretty fun. It's in so many ways it does not feel like a Final Fantasy game, and I think that's because the story is not really what the game focuses on the most. If anything, this feels more something along the lines of Xenoblade Chronicles. Excuse me,
which you were a big fan of.
Which I was a big fan of. I found some things in that game that felt a little too arduous, needlessly so. This game doesn't have those problems. And a lot of people love the story and characters. I enjoy my partners as like people I bring into battle with me and people that I'm on a journey with. But for a few reasons, I didn't fall in love with the story, but I've spent a lot of time outside of that, and I basically fell in love with the game there.
So this is a really long loading screen. We're playing on PS4 Pro. Did you play on the regular PS4 at all?
I switched between both consoles, the Pro and the Standard.
Was there a difference in loading times or resolution or anything like that you noticed?
Not loading times. They're pretty long when they happen. There is a setting on the PS4 Pro where you can favor anti-aliasing or frame rate. I tested those out, but largely ignored it. I mean, this game looks pretty good regardless of the system you're playing it on. So to start things off, I'll open up the world map here. All right, so this is down near the Fall Grove, and when you see things like this on the map, these like architectural objects, the game doesn't always lead you there. Like there's another one down here as well. It's a good place to explore because this is where you find the royal arms, for the most part, which are ancient weapons that belong to Noctis's forefathers, the old kings of Lucii, the kingdom that has fallen, and you're basically trying to recover these weapons to recover your kingdom.
That's a trope of fantasy. Fantasy in particular, that like buried deep in this cave are these ultra powerful weapons.
Yeah.
But I feel like in reality, whenever archaeologists dig up really old weapons, they're kind of shitty and rusty.
Yeah, but these are not physical weapons. These are like
spiritual weapons.
Yeah.
The weapons of the mind.
I'll give you guys a quick look at the gear I'm rolling with and just make sure I've got what I think is the best fit. This is the Durandal weapon. I found one in the world, and I think I earned one as the result of a quest. The Engine Blade 3 right here, it's noted as the third version because Sid, the classic character is in the game, he can upgrade the basic, well...
Hold on, Sid's not a guy, is he?
Sid is a guy.
I thought Sid was a girl in this game.
That's Cindy.
Oh, Cindy. I thought Cindy was the replacement for Sid.
No.
Oh.
And yeah, so you can upgrade some of your weapons for each character, and Engine Blade 3 is the product of that. To do so, you would have to like find an item that an enemy would drop, usually a rare version of a common item.
So do you have to do a lot of grinding to upgrade all of your weapons? Is it MMO-like in that sense?
There aren't a lot of weapons in the game to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot more accessories, but typically, no, you're not grinding to unlock weapons. It's just in that case, you kind of just hold on to a quest until you can pick up the item that Sid wanted, and then you just go back to him. You sort of just put it in the back of your mind and then return to it when the time is right.
The accessories don't show up on your character either, right?
No, you can't affect the visual representation of your character, unfortunately. Yeah, so, all right, let me just get out of here real quick, and we'll see what everyone's wearing. This is an outfit that Gladio earns after you beat the game. It's one of the 3 base outfits that you can earn, and they all have variations where you basically take a jacket off or choose to wear it.
That's a nice jacket. I would wear that jacket in real life. Those boots, they have a lot of buckles, though.
Oh, well, it is a Tetsuya Nomura character design, so...
Well, I feel like he's very subdued in the jacket area, but he had to make up for it in the boots.
This item right here that's italicized, the Good Chamberlain, it's one of the items that is exclusive to a particular character. In this case, as you can see, when my hit points, Noctis's in particular, the one character you can directly control, when his hit points fall to half, he'll use a high potion on me, which will fill up all of your hit points regardless of how many you have, which is different than past Final Fantasy games where it was like a fixed amount. You know?
Yeah, a high potion is, I think, typically 500, so there's not something better than a high potion.
Well, you can lose some of your potential health in this game, so you have to use elixirs to gain back the potential health. Enemies that knock you out or hit you extremely hard can whittle away on your maximum until you fix it.
So that was his outfit from the regular game. This is what you get at the beginning.
This is what you get at the beginning. This is the alternate outfit for Prompto. Typically, they're all clad in black leather and shiny, but I got pretty tired of that. All right, enough of this. So yeah,
enough of this fashion show.
If you want, before we dive into the dungeon, there are a few enemies over here I can fight, just to give you a sense of what it's like to travel at night. Nighttime and dungeons in particular are obviously dark, but it's also the right time for demons to come out. Typically in this game, you're fighting animals or things that resemble animals. Demons, though, are reserved for the darker times. And I believe there are 2 necromancers in here. Let's see. They should appear as I enter.
So you'd mentioned that you had found like a stamina trick where you're able to automatically refill your stamina when you're running as well?
Yeah, I'll show that to you guys. Okay, got an Iron Giant instead. I will show that to you, the stamina trick, in a little bit. So these Iron Giants, early in the game, you can encounter these by going out at night. And you are usually too low level to beat them. But obviously at a certain point you're strong enough, and then you feel like you can actually own the night and go out there. So I've been petrified. Status effects are a big problem in this game. So items are really important both to heal yourself and to get out of things like petrification or toad state. And right now I've built up this blue meter, so I'm going to activate my Armiger, which is a collection of my royal arms, and simply holding down circle will release this barrage of attacks where Noctises fly around all over the arena, killing enemies like so.
So is the Iron Giant in this game also voiced by Vin Diesel?
They had initially cast him, but they found that he wasn't able to capture the essence.
So Aaron Paul does all the voices.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, a little known fact, I think Aaron Paul does all of the enemy voices in the game.
He was just in Kingsglaive, right? He's not actually involved in the main game.
Yeah, so they did add in the patch that came, I think the launch day patch, they added some Kingsglaive cinematics to the game, but none of them that have Aaron Paul, right?
Who did he voice? Was it Core?
I do not remember his name.
Core is the only standout character from the movie who seems to make an appearance here, beyond the main cast that we're dealing with.
Which character was Core?
He was one of the Kingsguard who was kind of working, not behind the scenes, but he wasn't the one like out in front doing all the big eventful stuff. All right. So yeah, I mean, at night at this stage in the game, it's I'm still not really, at this point I'm not facing any challenges at night. Things are pretty easy, but dungeons definitely do challenge you, even when they say level 45 or level 50 as the recommended level. You're still gonna get your butt kicked now and again. It's one thing to prepare for battle, but things move so fast that it's easy to sort of get lost in the menagerie of it all. Mm-hmm. It can feel like a bad thing, but it also feels pretty exciting because you never quite feel like grinding is a boring experience in this game. In fact, I wouldn't even call it grinding. Combat is just pretty fun in general and just keeps you on your toes, so it's hard to fall into just a routine that just gets you experience points over time.
So, you've played all the Final Fantasies, right?
Not to completion, but yeah, I've sampled them all.
We have very different combat systems, I think, in every Final Fantasy game, and it's definitely made I would say, a move more towards an action-focused combat. And Final Fantasy 15 definitely feels like it's pushing that boundary even further towards action. Like, how do you feel that has evolved? Is it a positive? Is this pulling it back a little bit more from Final Fantasy 13 and going more RPG? Or
I think it's positive, but I don't think you have to say. I don't think it's important to distinguish that this is like right or wrong. Final Fantasy has always experimented with stuff. My favorite game in the series is Final Fantasy Tactics, and that combat's very different. And I think you could see people who would argue that that's not a true Final Fantasy game beyond the fact that it doesn't have a number in the title. But I think, Final Fantasy games are more than just a collection of mechanics or traditions. So I like it in this case. I really enjoy it. There is a wait mode that you can activate if you'd like to have something closer to a traditional battle system. It maybe mimics Final Fantasy 12 more than anything else, except you do not have control over the AI of your companions. At most, what you can do is influence individual moves that act more like limit breaks from Final Fantasy 7. When a meter fills up, you can have a character execute a move that you've assigned to them, and they only have access to one at a time. So you might notice there's not that many enemies in here. I've gone through this dungeon before. I didn't have a save prior to doing so ready, but what I'm going to do is take us to the basement. The final act of this dungeon is a bit of a puzzle, where you have to take elevators to reach a hidden inner sanctum. And I will show you what it looks like when you do the puzzle incorrectly, and you end up in the basement where a lot of high-level enemies appear. And then I will go back and we'll do the correct solution. I believe I know what it is. And try my best to beat the boss. Here we have a source of lightning. So magic in this game is based on either lightning, ice, or fire. And you harvest those resources and use abilities to sap those resources from enemies that are charged with those elements. And I'll show you right now. We'll go make a spell. Go to this Elemency menu. And you have to pick up magic flasks in the game. You find them randomly. Some are assigned to you through the story as well. And what you do is pick a slot, and I'm going to go with ice. And you essentially dedicate an amount of resources, and then you can go down and assign an item to sort of, use a little bit of alchemy to come up with a spell. So if I was to use something like Fossil Wood, this would add stop to my Blizzard spell. Now, you can add these effects to spells, but you can't negate the original element that you're using. And this is only really a problem because your characters are also impacted by the spells you cast. They aren't necessarily hurt, but they can be encumbered by being frozen, burnt, or shocked.
And does Fossil Wood always inflict stop?
It doesn't work every time. There's a chance.
I mean, no. If you put it with Blizzard, it's stop. If you put it with fire, it's stop. Like, it doesn't matter. Right. It doesn't matter what element it's with.
Gotcha. I'm pretty sure. I'm not positive. I don't want to say anything incorrectly. Okay, so I'm gonna use Beetle Shell so I can get quad cast Blizzard times 4, which gives me 4 casts of Blizzard, and which will happen in spurts of 4. Hence the quad cast. So I'll craft this here. Game will ask me to equip it. I will say, you know it. Put it down here.
All right, so we're doing some high-level dungeon raiding in Final Fantasy 15, and we're streaming this at the same time as well over Twitch, YouTube, and on GameSpot.com. If you have any questions or comments, please throw them out there. Lucrative8 over in chat says, could you explain light and dark attacks? He says he's having difficulty taking on demons at night.
So demons are best dealt with using light-based weapons. Let me see if I can find one here.
Someone also pointed out that Aaron Paul's name in Final Fantasy 15 Kingsglaive was Nyx Ulrich.
Oh, Nyx Ulrich. Yes, okay. That sounds right. This is a interesting note on this weapon I didn't notice. This belonged to a warrior called the Dark Knight. So, obviously belongs to Batman. Let's see here. Do I have any? Oh, yeah. So, the weapon I have equipped is good against demons in particular. Every character sort of has one of those. Dark attacks, I can't say I'm familiar with dark attacks specifically. You do get the Ring of Lucii, which is the one ring that belongs to kings, and it has some dark powers associated with it. I'll try to show off some of that. It's good for sapping the life out of a low-level enemy, a relatively low-level enemy, to just kill them instantly. And you can also cast a sort of a vacuum that will pull enemies in and basically just make them disappear. you still earn experience for that. They don't work every time. They don't work flawlessly. But the other effect that the ring has is if you hold down square, normally you would phase through an enemy attack. With the ring equipped, when you hold down square, your magic points drain automatically, but when an enemy strikes you, more often than not, you will phase through the attack, and then the enemy that's attacking will be injured as a result. So when dealing with mobs of low-level creatures, this is really handy because you can just stand there and watch them kill themselves.
And so this is your personal save from beating and reviewing the game, right?
Yeah, it's not my latest save. I played a little bit more at home at this point. I think I'm just over 65 hours. Well, definitely over 65, probably closer to 70.
What level are you? Someone in chat asked that.
Right now, I'm level... I forget what I am at home. Right now, it's 67. I believe... like 68 at home. I am kind of going through the process of mopping up little side quests that I may have missed, because I kind of like exploring this world, and in doing so running into enemies, big enemies specifically, that are pretty fun to fight. So I'm gonna run down this winding staircase right now.
And just the fact that you're playing the game after review means you must have enjoyed it, and that
Yeah.
do you feel like your review holds up beyond just like that, playing the game from beginning to end and then like it's a finished thing, like you want to keep playing it afterward?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote my review after an additional 30 hours beyond the main story, and that was kind of the crux of my review, is that, you know, unlike some people, I didn't really love the story and the character development, but the gameplay really did grip me, especially set in a world that is just so fascinating and huge as EOS. So yeah, I still feel like it holds up. I stand by it. It's you know, it's, as a Final Fantasy fan, this game feels weird, but as a game that I spent, you know, over 65 hours playing, I definitely got to know it on its own terms and appreciate what it does. Okay, so this room has 4 of these little elevators, and these little elevators lead to a series of shifting floors and walls, and you have to tackle each one of them in order. Not in order, just you have to tackle each one of them once, go to the basement, fight the high-level enemies, until you finally have access to the final one, which is in the northwest corner, which I will go to after this. I'll go down this one first to show you the basement here.
So are these dungeons a good place to go to like grind skill and experience? Have you found any good places for that?
This, I mean, yeah, especially in the basement here, I guess you could say it's a good place to do it because you are confronted with a score of mid-level and a handful of high-level enemies. Which reminds me, I forgot to stock up on potions and such. Hopefully that doesn't bite me in the butt. Because healing spells are rare in this game and they're always tied to an element, you need items to heal yourself. So I'm probably going to end up expending pretty expensive or rare healing items just to survive this fight. But we shall see. There is an ability where you can block and parry attacks. Sometimes I can do it, sometimes I can't. But it's always a fault of my own. It's never really the game.
It's a crappy elevator.
Don't think it passes regulation. I think this might be Yojimbo, one of the few undead no, still goblins. You do fight some like undead samurai in this game that are pretty powerful, honestly. But they're really cool. Like the undead in this game and the sort of themes you see here definitely made me feel like I was involved in something that evoked similar kind of feelings as Dark Souls does when you first see these enemies and they surprise you and you don't know how they're going to act and how you should react. I'm not saying it's the same as Dark Souls, but it made me feel a similar way. Visual inspection.
You also revealed Watch Dogs 2, right?
Yes.
So it's funny, somebody, I don't know if they did this intentionally, but someone in chat said, should I buy this, Watch Dogs 2, or Metal Gear Solid 5? All 3 of which you reviewed.
All 3 of which I reviewed. I would suggest Metal Gear Solid 5, then this, then Watch Dogs. I think. Yeah.
How come?
Whew.
Because this and Metal Gear both have stealth.
This doesn't really have stealth.
No.
It has some form of it, but it's not to the same degree as something you'd find in Metal Gear. I think I appreciate the sort of risky storytelling that Metal Gear goes for, and how it's a little bit crazy and you don't really know how to predict what's going to come next. I'm going to finish talking before I go in this room. You know, this game offers a more fantastical take on an open world, but you do get the same sort of like natural wonder that you get from, you know, reality mixed with civilizations, or rather towns that look and feel real. Watch Dogs is super interesting because I live in the Bay Area and it does a really good job of making me feel like I'm exploring the Bay Area there. And it has a lot of different ways to interact with the open world and a great sense of humor that's kind of refreshing, especially compared to the first game. All right, here we go. So I'm going to take out these little guys first. I'm going to see if I can't cast that ring spell. Oh, this guy's going to get me.
He must have like really good gloves, because you'd think his sword would be kind of hot. He would want to drop it. It's like, you know, when you pick up a cast iron pan, you're like, oh no, I don't want to touch that right now.
I assume he's made of iron. Therefore, he's okay.
So we have a couple questions in chat. One, we kind of touched on, but what are the best spots that you found to grind and get gil?
You can't get gil from grinding. You get gil from selling items, which I suppose you do. The items I'm in stasis right now, so I need to replenish my magic points so I can dash. Enemies drop like things that you can combine to make spells, or you can sell for gil. They don't drop gil explicitly. So the best spots, you know, honestly, the best thing to do is just travel out into the wilderness, go away from where the quests send you, and just try to look for new places. You're inevitably going to run into enemies that you haven't seen before, at levels that you haven't seen before, and that is how I get most of my experience, because I like to have fun while doing it. I don't like to grind necessarily just for the sake of accumulating numbers, if that makes sense.
I love just seeing numbers go up. Somebody else says, do you have the auto changer amulet?
The auto changer amulet. Let me check. I don't think so. That sounds new to me. Oops, what am I doing? Sorry.
Nope. Yeah, auto changer, right there.
Yep.
Exclusively for Noctis, automatically switches arms after an attack.
Yeah, so I favor hit points above all else in this game, because running out of HP is the first thing that will send you running for items and thus expending expensive things. But yeah, there are things that will, you know, and accessories are the best way to boost any of your stats, by the way. So me opting for HP and defense makes it maybe not, switching to this isn't really something I'd love to do. In fact, I probably need to see what this does, because I don't actually know a whole lot about it. But at the moment, I can tell you that I need all the hit points I can get.
So a lot of people are asking about the giant turtle, which I assume they mean is that the super long.
Yeah.
But so we haven't beaten that yet, because it's like level 99. That's like super end game.
Yeah.
But what was the longest boss battle you had to fight just in the regular course of the game?
That's a good question. I don't know. You know, probably boss battles typically are over in 10 minutes at most, but in this dungeon, the more that you end up in the basement, the more these red giants appear. And then you also get nagas, which are these huge snakes with the face of a woman, and they cast like crazy status spells on you. So that can take like 20 minutes, half an hour to get through. I'm also not really paying attention right now, my bad.
So when you played like Final Fantasy VII back in the day, did you go for the ruby weapon and emerald weapon? Did you try to complete the games in that way?
I had a friend who was far. I think his materia was much more mature than mine, and his level was much higher. So I kind of lived vicariously through him. I never tackled him, you know, apart from the weapons that you have.
So do you think you're going to go for that in this game? That you'll go for these end-level bosses?
That's a good question. You know, I kind of think that once I've run the course in the final few quest lines, which take me to more difficult dungeons than this and give me, you know, better weapons than I currently have, I'll probably be satisfied with the game at that point. I think that'll put me close to the 80-hour mark, and you know, I'd say that's pretty darn good.
Someone in chat says, do the enemies come in different forms, like ice, fire, etc.?
Typically, from what I've seen, they just have different stats. You don't see differences in terms of the elements or, you know, properties like that. Okay, so this is one of the hidden doors in the game. There are a few of these tucked away in dungeons, and in order to get inside of them, what you have to do is beat every dungeon in the game and then go to the city called Lestalum, and there's a quest you can pick up where you get the key to these doors. And these house the highest level enemies in the game. Well, I guess outside of the Adamantoise, the turtle. And they're sort of legendary monsters that live beneath the earth, blah, 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 that kind of thing. And I've yet to sample them. I've only heard about them and read about them.
Someone in chat says, "Hi, say my name." My name.
My name. All right, so got a taste of the basement. We go back upstairs, and then I will try to do the correct path to get to the boss, and pray that I don't lose on screen, because that would be embarrassing. I should say, as long as you have enough items in your inventory, it's really, really hard to just outright die and get a game over. But that's
unless you crash your car. You crash your car, it's game over immediately.
Yeah, well, if you have the flying car. Yeah. Which is super strange. But again, that thing kind of feels like it was tossed in at the end just to give you something to hang your hat on, and, having accomplished the story. But yeah, otherwise, as long as you have enough items, you can pretty much make it out okay. That your buddies are really good at reviving you when you still have some potential health left, without the use of items. They just have the natural supportability because they're your friends.
Someone in chat says, "How much does the game cost?" It's a normal $60 game in the
Justin,
U.S.
It's $59.99.
That really depends on where you're buying it from. For me, it was like $80 because I bought the collector's edition.
You sure did.
So I'm a cool dude.
Okay, so I should be able to go down here. Why isn't the elevator appearing?
That doesn't look like an elevator. That's a big elevator. Who designed these? Like, what was the purpose?
That's a fair question.
It seems like it would be good for like moving large quantities of things. Like you could get a roller onto that. You could set up a stage downstairs.
I wonder if it's gonna make me go. Please say no. Wonder if it's gonna make me go through one more of these rounds to the basement first. It might do that, even though I've already been to them. There's some weird logic in this dungeon. Let me just check out this other one real quick.
So someone says, "Is it better not to use special weapons as that uses HP?"
Yes, I actually don't use those very often. The special weapons they're referring to are the royal arms that you collect throughout the game. And yeah, they drain HP when you attack. They can give you some advantage, but I find that I'd rather preserve my hit points than resort to being tricky, as it were.
Is he jumping around because he's cold? Why? It's like, no, he's like blowing into his hands. That's what happens when you take off his shirt. He's a naturally cold-natured guy.
So yeah, it looks like I need to run through this last elevator before the one I really want. It's probably an effect of me saving my game. Get to see me fight those red giants one more time. And maybe another as well. You might see me turn into a tail.
I know this is something we've talked or you've talked a lot about. A lot on our different streams, but summoning, I think, it's something that's so iconic in Final Fantasy games now.
Yeah.
But it's also something that's very specific. Is there any summon that you can do here? Is that...
I have seen Rama. I have summoned Rama here one time. You don't have direct control over summons. It's not like you say, oh, I have so many magic points, I'm going to cast him. And magic points don't even apply to magic in this game. Oddly enough. So, I mean... Maybe we'll see Rama if the fight goes on, if it's really hard, but no guarantees. And even when you know the conditions, both where you are in the world and the state of your characters in battle.
Yojimbo!
Yeah, Yojimbo. You can find yourself hoping for a summon and it will never come. And then there are times when you don't really need it and it appears anyway. I think that is one of the core aspects of this game, is that they make such a big deal about the summons and then make it next to impossible to ever rely upon them.
Well, Yojimbo is a summon in some games.
What, he was an Esper, right, in 6? Or am I misremembering?
Yes.
He was. Okay.
I feel like he had an appearance in some of the others as well.
I don't think he was in 7. I'm fairly certain of that.
No, not 7.
Was he in Eidolon? In 8?
No.
Was that 8 that called them Eidolons?
I feel like he was in 10.
They're known as Astrals here, for whatever that's worth.
6 was one of, I think, his coolest form. Yeah, he was in 10 too.
10-2 or
he was in
also?
10 as well. He was just in the end. Was he not in 6? It's funny how your memory plays tricks on you. You're like, no, I totally remember this thing. I know what he looks like, and you're like, no, that never existed.
You're just a kid.
But he was also in 10-2. He was in 10 and 10-2.
Okay, I've been trying to use my ring here to no effect, so I'm just going to like a normal J-pop.
That's how you fight when you're a J-pop.
Yeah.
I love how their hair is just always perfect.
Ah, but not when it rains, my friend.
Really?
Their hair will get matted down, and they will remark about how their hair is ruined.
Do they cry a little bit?
You can sense the disappointment. So again, for anyone who is just joining us, we are running through one of the higher level dungeons in Final Fantasy 15. I am level 67, just over 60 hours in the game on this save, and trying to get through this puzzle-like dungeon and to face a boss I have yet to fight, and my other saves even.
So yeah, if you have questions, comments,
Concerns.
snide remarks, go ahead and throw this into chat.
Oh, we love snide remarks.
Somebody was asking about katana weapons. They're very, very curious about any katana weapons in the game.
Yeah, there are a couple, but they are limited to the royal arms. From what I recall, I have one. The Masamune sword is something that you can get for that's good. I mean, there are katanas, but like in the heat of battle, I'm not worried about the shape of my blade. I'm worried about this one. Although, as legend has it, Masamune is the strongest sword.
It really depends on the game. What is the strongest sword in this game?
Oh, I mentioned like real world legend.
In the real world, yeah, the Masamune is the strongest sword in the world.
Right. In this game, the strongest sword, I don't know, because I've still got a couple quests that I've yet to reveal the best weapons of each type. So we shall see.
So have you unlocked all of the dungeons now?
All but the secret ones that I was showing earlier through that little hole you can see in the wall right there. That was Sage Fire. That is a limit break by Ignis. The limit break things, as I'm calling them, but they take up not just one bar, but multiple bars depending on the strength and they can do things like the attacks. They can be support abilities, all manner of things. Again, I'm in stasis because I'm just going ham without really paying much attention. The joys of streaming. So I'm going to give myself ether. Yeah, the best thing you can do to succeed in this game is to just buy all the items you can and take bounties to earn money. That is the best way to earn money in this game. And you can replay them as well if you find one that you particularly enjoy and go back to it.
I've turned down the gameplay somewhat so that you can hear us talking, because what we say is very important, much more important and interesting than the music in this game. Can you do more damage than 9,999?
Yes, I believe there's a thing that removes the limit break, oddly enough, as it calls it, of your character's moves, which I believe will put it into 5 digits.
Well, that was real.
Yeah. So I'm going to use a high elixir right now because my team is... Oops, used the wrong one. That's okay. I have plenty of those.
Somebody says, are you guys brothers? It is unfortunate in the GameSpot office that we both are pasty white guys with brown hair, well, blondish brown hair, beards, and glasses.
Yes.
This is why I'm not allowed to wear glasses most of the time.
All right, so Phoenix Downs are pretty rad. I'm going to see if Prompto should be using one in a second. Oh, I guess he used it outside of view. A character will clasp this like orange feather to their heart, and then they will like burn up in flame and come back to life. Like the only spell animation in the game that's noteworthy, and it's pretty rad. I'm gonna block something here. What am I blocking? A flan, a flan, depending on your regional preference. All right, yeah. So once again, hopefully, once I waste these guys, I'll go back upstairs, and then I can head to the boss room.
Turn up your audio for Peter's mic. I think I did that. We'll find it. I'm not a normal streaming person.
You're an abnormal streaming person, Justin.
It takes special skill, and I have zero special skill. I have 0 skills. Somebody said, what difficulty are you playing? Can you change the difficulty in this one?
There is an easy mode where it's basically impossible to lose. From what I hear, I've only played on normal, so this is the standard difficulty, and you can't go higher than that. Yeah. I'm also 25 levels above these guys, so while they're killing me a bit, it's more of a product of me just playing sloppy as I try to think and talk while I do it.
So which dungeon is this specifically?
This is the Costlemark Dungeon, which I mistakenly thought was the Castlemark Dungeon for a long time.
It sounds the same.
It sounds very much the same. So you can crouch behind things like this, or warp to points high up in some arenas to instantly recharge magic points in your health.
Does that feel like it makes it too easy?
No, it adds an interesting layer to combat, I think, because it allows you to fight in a couple different ways. You can choose to be, someone like a guerrilla fighter, more or less, who goes in and out of warp points. And from warp points, when you warp attack from them, you get an increased damage multiplier. Warp points get a multiplier based on how far away you attack from, and that is super helpful. So it is both a way to replenish your resources, because a lot of what Noctis uses is magic points for his abilities, and when you run out of magic points, it takes a while for them to recharge, and he is weaker and slower as a result. I'm getting my butt handed to me. I'm going to change my spell real quick.
So somebody asks in chat, what is the best way to spend PA? Which I assume means...
I think they mean AP.
Oh.
Ability points.
Because I would have said purity attributes. Because these guys look like they wear purity rings. They wear promise rings.
Spending ability points is weird because there are a lot of different trees, I think 9 in total, that you can spend them through, and it really comes down to what you prefer. I try to emphasize the efficacy of warp attacks. You can increase how strong they are. And I also try to unlock the, quote-unquote limit breaks for my supporting characters as well. Because having a range of those is useful when facing a battle. You might not be able to, tackle well or efficiently with one of those attacks. And it also helps you, strategize the AI on your team and how you can influence that a little bit. All right, I'm going to hopefully develop this guy.
So I know that you watched the movie. You watched Kingslave.
Yeah.
You've obviously played through the entire game. Did you watch the anime series as well?
I only saw the first episode. I thought it was okay. I just never got back to it.
So how do you feel about how all of this story, all of these elements come together?
I thought the movie did a great job of preparing me to care for the story at all. Wow, I'm just getting destroyed. It's not a wonderful movie by movie standards, but as a piece of Final Fantasy media, it's not bad. It's got a lot of Easter eggs that fans will appreciate. Definitely impressive CG animation as well. That's just objectively cool. But the whole crux of the story is that the kingdom that you are the prince in is both trying to form a peace treaty with an opposing country, but then also faces the fact that they are going to betray you and try to take over your kingdom. So the game presents that early on, but the movie does a much better job of fleshing that aspect of the story out.
Is it a better story than Star Wars Episode 1?
Episode
Because you were talking
1?
about trade agreements, and that got me thinking about...
Right. Yeah, that's a better story. It's certainly presented better, I'll tell you that. I'd like for this fight to be done.
Somebody says, is there anything that you miss out on by playing on easy versus normal? Does it change anything?
I don't know. I didn't play on easy. I mean, I think any sense of vulnerability in battle might be the thing, because an easy mode, from what I understand, it's basically impossible to die.
So we're playing the game on PlayStation 4 on the Pro version right now. Is there already a patch out for the PS4 Pro?
Yeah, and it lets you choose between emphasizing frame rate or anti-aliasing for smoother models. We should be nearing the end of this guy, and I pray that it lets me go to the boss fight. Otherwise, you guys have my sincerest apologies. If it does, though, we can jump out into the world and find something else to do. But I have a good hunch that we should be okay.
I don't think you can answer this question, but somebody says, I have 150,000 gil. I have all weapons that cost 10,000 gil and enough potions. What else should I buy?
I don't know, man. Soundtracks, upgrades for your car. Once you have enough items and you have all the weapons, money doesn't really do much for you. I guess you could spend it on food. Food is pretty important. It's actually something I should have considered before jumping in here. It allows you to just boost your character's stats for a temporary amount of time.
What is temporary?
It depends. You can unlock abilities in the AP tree that will prolong the amount of time you get to spend with those enhancements.
So it's not like it lasts until you rest or until you eat your next meal.
Right. And if you eat, say, at a restaurant and then you decide, I want to sleep for the night, because that's how you actually apply your experience to your characters, sleeping overnight will negate your buffs. So it's recommended you don't do that. But if you stay at a campsite, you can choose to eat at that time.
If you eat a really heavy meal, does it make your character fall asleep? Like if you get like a big curry and some fried chicken, because that makes me take a nap.
It just gives them gas.
Oh.
That's about it.
They're moving around a lot. That's probably going to release gas.
That characters have a habit of jostling, say most of the time, which makes something like a time-lapse video, which we tried to produce last week, very challenging. But for the most part, they do a pretty good job of like when you're running along, the Prompto will sprint ahead and like run backwards for a second, like almost to say like, come on, dude, let's run faster, or I'm faster than you. And it's kind of nice to see the interplay between their personalities in that respect. But yeah, there is a lot of just sort of de facto idle animations just to make it look like the characters are in a video game, I guess.
So what do you like least about this game? What was your kind of biggest selling point for
Here we go.
negativity?
I really felt like the story was very simple and straightforward, and I didn't feel like... despite the fact that every side character gets a moment to show a different side of themselves, I didn't think like that development mattered in the long term because the product of it was so short-lived. So by the end of the story, my characters hadn't changed that much. The story itself had kind of swept some things under the rug and presented me with a villain that is kind of basic, if I'm honest, especially by Final Fantasy standards. Oh shoot, is this...
Oh, who is the best villain in Final Fantasy for you?
Best villain in Final... it's a toss-up between... Oh, you know what? It is Algus or Gafgarion in Final Fantasy Tactics, I'd say.
Well, let's go back to FF Tactics.
I do. And I realize now... Oh, man, I really hope I went to the right one. Which one is going to take me where I want to go?
At least it's slow.
At least it's slow, which is great for a stream. We've been going for about 45 minutes right now. Worst case scenario, if I can't get to the boss, you'll have my sincerest apologies. This dungeon is kind of crazy. I don't have a strategy guide in front of me, and I'm trying to remember my best what the suggested route is here. Because if you don't know the right route, you will spend a lot of time rummaging about.
So we had an entire stream where we talked about, or not an entire stream, but we had a segment in our lobby live show, which airs every Tuesday, where we talked about some of our favorite, or what we want to see in the DLC for the game. Because we know there's going to be DLC, and I think there's some stuff left wanting. But if you want to distill that down, like what was your summary? What summary did you guys come up to?
I think definitely more outfits is the thing. It'd be nice to feel like you are sort of shaping these characters, both visually and in their inherent abilities. I would like to see. Well, there's a photograph at one point where you see that Sid used to travel around with Noctis's dad, much in the same way that you and his friends are now. And I would love to see a story that revisits that time, because the game kind of presents it as like, hey, here's another band of people. They have their own stories. You can only wonder what they are. I would love to be told what they are and see how that maybe informs how Noctis was raised, why his dad makes the decisions he does in this timeline. I think that could be pretty cool.
So what is the boss of this dungeon?
I don't know.
Oh, it's going to be a surprise for all of us?
It's going to be a surprise for all of us. I'm really freaking worried this is...
It's Busnard. Man, Busman.
Let's call him Bossnard and you're good.
So another staple of Final Fantasy games is that you have similar enemies and then you just color them differently, and that's like, this is the more powerful version of that one because it's blue instead of red.
Right.
And looking through the bestiary for Final Fantasy 15, it seems like they do some of that. Does it feel like you see a lot of the same stuff throughout the game? You
do see a lot of the same enemy types. But again, if you head out into the wilderness, you're bound to find mobs that you don't recognize. There is a little bit of repetition, but there's also so much scale and variety to explore that it doesn't really... It feels like something that you brought onto yourself if you keep running into the same things, because, frankly, you probably just stuck to the same area. And, goddamn, here I am back in the basement. All right. Maybe what I'll do is load up another save, and we can try this again. Oh, I can't. Oh, that's fun. All right, well, let's... this is the Nagaroni. Nagarani?
The San Francisco tree.
The San Francisco tree. Apologies for not being able to get through this. This dungeon is very confusing with 4 quadrants that look almost identical. It's going to be really hard to get through. I think it's probably best if I load up a new save. Do you want to cut back to us real quick so I don't spoil something in the menu?
Yeah, let's see. No, not that. Oh, crap, sorry.
There you go. All right, cool. I'm going to load up my new save right now. But please hit us with any questions you have in the meantime.
Someone has a very important question. They say, when is Half-Life 3 going to release? So if you watch every video for Final Fantasy 15 that we've done since the game was first released, pause at the 8-minute, 6-second mark. There's a secret hidden somewhere on the screen in each of those videos. And if you tie the common area... I don't want to give too much away because it's hidden, but it's hidden in plain sight. If you tie that thing together from each of those videos and make sure you've seen them all, some of them are on YouTube, some of them are on the site, you'll find Half-Life 3.
What's up?
No.
They said the boss was after that.
No, it's not. You can't get it. Unfortunately, you can't get to the boss right from that room. You have to go down a specific corridor and take one of 2 paths. Yeah.
So they were saying you had to finish that next part before you could.
Tay was saying you have to... Our controller was coming in saying that we were on the right path to getting the boss, but you had to beat those guys.
My bad. Well, given that we only have about 10 more minutes to stream, I wouldn't be able to beat it in that time anyway. So I'll do my best to jump out here and show you guys something else that's going on. I'll introduce you to Randolph.
Randolph Ramsey, the
GameSpot editor-in-chief, who in this game is an old man in overalls who wants you to find legendary weapons.
So was there a really big spoiler on the menu? Would that have...
There's something that's spoiled. You can click back now if you want, and people can watch this loading screen. There we go. All right, we're tiny again. Chapter 15 is the point in the game where the game basically tells you that if you want to keep playing, you can keep playing. There are really only 14 story chapters here, just to be certain.
Yeah, someone in chat says, after you kill the 3 fire giants and the 1 snake woman, then you gain access to the boss.
So, yes, but you can't get to them from the basement, if I'm understanding correctly. You have to go back up to the main floor with the 4 elevators. And I thought I took the right one in the northwest quarter, but maybe it was the southwest quarter. And then you get 2 options halfway down that elevator, and you have to pick the right one. And I think I knew the right one, but to go through those Iron Giants again, I think this would have taken too long for the scope of the stream. I do appreciate your advice and insight. I'm just trying to make sure that we're not showing people the same thing for the full hour.
So even though this is a high-level stream, I think somebody has a good question in chat, and that's, I'm new to Final Fantasy, and I need to know where to start. Should I start with Final Fantasy 15, or do you recommend something else?
I think the great thing about Final Fantasy games is even though they are intimidating because it is part of a long series that not many people play all of them, the games are so very different, and their stories are distinct, so... I think if you have access to a PlayStation 4, this is a great game to get started with. So I'm going to, let's see.
I think when you play through a lot of Final Fantasy games, everybody has their personal favorites.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll take a few years before something like Final Fantasy 15 usurps that for some people.
Yes.
And especially, I think for people of our generation, it'll tend to be those 16-bit adventures like Final Fantasy VI and Final Fantasy IV, 2 of my absolute favorites. For a lot of people, their first one was Final Fantasy VII, which I think they have a lot of love for. I think Final Fantasy IX is really great. Yeah,
I think I'm one of those weirdos who 7 was not my first Final Fantasy, but it is up there as one of my favorites. I basically hold Tactics 7 and, 6 definitely. I was going to throw 9 in there. I love 9. 9's really great, but is it one of my favorites? I'm not certain. Who's talking stuff?
Somebody says, do you think 15 was rushed a little? I hope that's a troll. I hope that's a joke game.
I think what they're getting at is, do you think that it was cobbled together after years of turmoil? And I think there is some evidence of a couple different games in here. In some ways, this feels like a test bed for the ideas that Kingdom Hearts has with its battle system and maybe what they're going for in 3. But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily make it a bad game in my mind. So this is Randolph. After you beat the game, you can come here and talk to this guy, and he will tell you of the legend of you and the weapons that you are destined to find. And he will send you after the game's big bads in the overworld. Massive creatures that, are pretty tough. I'm going to go face the Malbodoom, which is a variation of the Marlboro, I can't pronounce. He resides in the middle of a lake and has a bunch of tiny little Malbodooms that surround him, and I don't think I can beat them, but we will find out. It's at least an impressive enemy, so at the very least, even though we didn't get to the end of that dungeon, you will get to see a pretty cool enemy that you won't be able to fight until at least this point in the game. And I will do my best to fly there in my flying car. Whoops. Although let me see where the quest marker is.
So I really enjoyed Final Fantasy X.
Okay.
It was very different. I felt like, and the story was really weird. And I think it has one of the more infamous scenes with Titus and Luna.
Not the laughing scene.
The laughing scene.
Oh, the laughing scene.
Like
okay.
that was. It's memorable in its horribleness. But it was still like the summons in that I think were really iconic. I thought it did really good with the combat. Yeah,
Auron was a great character as well. Thought he was great. I wasn't a big fan of Tidus or Waka or really, but I liked Auron.
So have you found any good Easter eggs? Of course, Sid is somebody who comes up in every game, but has there been anything you found yet that maybe might be something that might go under the radar that other people might not have noticed?
Under the radar. There is a Cactuar out there. I haven't fought him yet. And I think I've fought a Tonberry, but he wasn't as difficult as he is in previous games where it's like a one-hit kill situation. Although now I'm trying to remember if that's even accurate, if I did see him at all. There aren't really many hidden things, but there's a lot of things you can do to like evoke that nostalgia. Like you can buy soundtracks to previous Final Fantasy games and listen to them while you're driving around and in the overworld as well. Not in dungeons because they have different music that tries to set the mood. Obviously, you can race chocobos. The racing is pretty basic. It's not as extensive as something like Final Fantasy VII. So you won't be able to, really forge a career as a chocobo racer and unlock really cool stuff. You just sort of unlock small, cool things.
Is it not faster to fly around once you get that?
So I'd like to take off right now, but you can only take off when the road is the right shape and size. So if you look on the left, my HUD, it says take off, but it's grayed out. So I have to wait for the right moment, and I'd love to show you guys that before I get to the Malbodoom.
For some reason, people in chat started talking about food a lot. In Twitch chat, they say, can you eat food in this game? In YouTube chat, if you have Noctis eat a lot of meals, do you run the risk of him turning obese? Is this San Andreas, Grand Theft Auto?
No, you don't have to watch your diet. You can eat the greasiest, heaviest food you want and reap the benefits of extra life and greater strength.
Because they're all teenagers.
Yeah. I'd actually love to know their age, and apparently I'd like to know their blood type because that is like although I could probably guess, because isn't that a thing in Japan that your blood type dictates your personality?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why like characters in all of these Japanese-made games, they specify a blood type for what seems like an odd reason, but there's actually some logic behind it, although it's pretty restricting to assign that to someone.
I'm blood type R.
Really cool.
Randy.
So
So you've said a couple times you spent about 65 hours in the game total. How long did it take you to beat the main game?
So once you get to chapter 10 or 11, I don't remember exactly, so don't quote me on that, but the suggested level requirement jumps quite a bit for the story chapter. I'd say about 15 levels from the previous one that had a recommended level. There are some story ones that don't really tax you in that way. So I went back and I did a lot of exploration and side quests, both to facilitate the review properly, but also to feel like I was prepared to take on the harder missions in the story. So when it was all said and done, I think I spent just over 30 hours. But there are people that are beating the game in less than 15 hours. I think even close to 10 is the current reported record, which is really short by a Final Fantasy game, and evidence of the fact that there's not a lot to it. Hence why I didn't fall in love with the story.
Oh, so someone was asking what is 5 days left in the upper right-hand corner. That's how long ago that's how much longer you have left for your chocobo, I guess.
Yes, you technically own a chocobo in the game, but you are more or less leasing it. You can change its color. Medals you earn during racing, they hang on its chest. But at the end of the day, you have to pay gil to rent your chocobo. It's not exorbitant. It's pretty cheap. I think it's 50 gil per day. And you also need to pay 10 gil to fast travel, a requirement that I don't quite understand, given that you have to manage gas manually. until you do unlock the part, which I currently have, which gives you unlimited fuel.
I mean, why would you not install that on all cars? That just seems more environmentally friendly.
Because the military is holding on to the required pieces of this technology, and only someone like Cindy can piece it together.
Just like real life.
Just like real life.
It's a conspiracy.
It is. I couldn't think of a better setting to fight the Malbodoom than a foggy evening.
It's like San Francisco.
I hope he's there. If he's not there, this is going to go down as the most disappointing stream in history.
Yeah, so we're streaming Final Fantasy 15, some of the endgame content. Peter's already beat the game. We don't have too much longer, though. This is probably one of the last things that we're going to do.
Yeah, this is the last. And I see him there, so we're in good shape. I'm going to heal up my party real fast. Let's see what I can do. Not in bad shape.
So it's been a crowded holiday season, and
Yeah.
we're nearing the end of the big game releases. We'll have I think our final reviews either up on the site or going up really soon. Is Final Fantasy 15 something that you think should be on like a gamer's holiday wish list?
Absolutely. I think it's a very impressive open world, and it offers a lot of great combat and discovery opportunities. It does scratch that itch that people get when they think of a Final Fantasy game in many ways, even though the story isn't one of those, in my opinion. But at the same time, the game doesn't suffer for it at large. I'm going to get my butt kicked. I can already tell. So let's see what I can do here. Oh, yeah, one hit kill. There we go.
So the Marlboro is a plant enemy, very
Iconic
in the Final Fantasy franchise as somebody who inflicts horrible status effects and kills you very quickly.
Yeah.
Someone in chat says they're a vegan, and they'd like to know if you can beat the game without harming animals.
Here comes the summon. All right, it's going to be Leviathan, isn't it? I am holding down that button like you wouldn't believe. Come on, Noctis.
Summon it.
I am holding down that button.
Do you even know how to summon? It says L2.
And now it's gone?
No.
Oh, wait, there it is.
So do you just hold it and wait?
I can confirm I am pressing the L2 button. Maybe I need to target an enemy? This is an example of how stupid summons are in this game. I'm doing...
Oh,
there we go. All right, Leviathan. Cool. All right. This is the first time I've ever summoned Leviathan in this entire game after 65 plus hours. So, you guys are lucky. Like, literally. Look into my eye.
The danger here is that Leviathan also could have murdered your entire party if you didn't grab onto him
Yes.
right then.
But we have formed an alliance, a bond, if you will.
I don't think he seems to care about you.
All right, so the Malbodoom's little boys are done, which leaves just the big guy himself. Nope, I was wrong. There's a couple of little ones left. But I will beat this quest on the stream, and that will be fun. Hopefully for you too.
So this is like an optional super hard boss over here?
Yeah, I mean, you can face him anyway, but if you take the quest line, you stand to gain a super cool weapon. I don't know what weapon that is just yet. I'll have to beat him and return to Randolph, the guy who gives you the quest, to actually find out. And then he will send me on to my next big enemy. The first one you fight is this massive, sort of like demonic raven. That's really impressive and like 4 times the size of the Malbodoom, if not more. That battle was really impressive and kind of opened my eyes even more to the possibilities that I have left to experience in this game.
So how do you feel like somebody asked us in chat, how do you feel that the map size compares to other open world games?
This world is big. I mean, you travel a lot of it by car, and you can fast travel if you want, but really traveling by car is the best way to take it in, and there's a lot to see that's super interesting, so even a basic moment is pretty incredible for the most part. If you want to drive across the entire map, I think the maximum time it can take is 12 minutes. And that's actually quite long by open world standards. I think if you take something like GTA 5, you can drive across that in just a couple of minutes, in my experience. So I feel like the world is pretty big. And there's a lot of stuff that, it seems just like, damn, look at my butt. Whoops. It seems like just innocuous wilderness, but when you dig into it, you find things that are super interesting and oftentimes challenging as well. All right, I'm going to cast Sage Fire on this dude in just a second. I'll cast some magic on him. Whoops.
Yeah, people are saying in chat, ice and fire magic are effective against this guy, right?
Yeah. Although I have lightning equipped. That's okay. I will go into here. You do have an ability with Ignis where he can identify the weaknesses and strengths of different enemies. But it's not a sure bet all the time. Where's my magic? Oh, I cast it all on the last guy. Or no, I didn't. Let me make it real quick. Sorry.
So do any of the side quests offer anything interesting, like in the way of story, or like really compelling reason to go out of your way for them?
I think it's more the stories that you define by going through the quests. That's the stuff that really tickles me, if you will. It doesn't really dive into any sort of like great lore or stuff related to the story's main conflict. Unfortunately,
You got this.
oh yeah.
I was just saying that. I don't believe in you.
Typical Justin. Oh, did that only target his little guy? It's all right. Don't worry. This is under control.
Yeah, so magic it works so differently in this game, but is it still fun? Do you feel like these changes make it more interesting, or do you wish that it went back to its more standard cast a spell roots?
I do kind of miss the standard format of Magic. I like the fact... Oh, confusion. I like the fact that your party is at risk when you cast Magic. I think that adds an appreciable layer of strategy to positioning and timing on the battlefield. I understand how it might annoy some people.
You threw up a flare. What does that do?
That will distract some of the enemies. I believe. It's been a while since I've used that ability. I've since removed it from Prompto. So here I am using one of the legendary weapons, the katana, no less. Come on, buddy. Ugh.
I'm just going to use up all your... You got to use your Mega Elixirs sometime.
I'm just doing it for the stream. Why not?
I feel like whenever I play these games, I always at the end just have like 99 ridiculously super powerful items.
You save it up because you think you're going to need all of them. But
in this case, you do.
Well, I got plenty left, thankfully. I mean, you can buy high elixirs readily at the store. And even a Phoenix Down, when you cast it on a fellow character, they will be revived with all of their health, which is, again, different from past Final Fantasy games.
So Christopher Prangen over in chat says, hit Marlboro on the back.
Yep.
It's effective, and warp into him.
Those tactics are effective for every enemy, but thank you for your advice.
Damage times 2.
All right, here we go. He's going to fall any second. I'm just going to let him come in butt.
And Noah 360 is asking for subs. He's trying to get 20 subs before tomorrow. Hey, Noah 360.
Sup. You just got a harmonized sup, which in some circles counts as 2 subs.
Yeah, it's a double
or
sub.
3 subs.
Yeah, it's got to count as more. That's a
right,
triple.
It has to stack. Yeah, I apologize for my sloppy play. I'm definitely not in the zone. But Gladio, he can handle it. I think he's going to do it. Or I'm going to do it with the follow-up attack. No? God dang. Here we go.
He's down to a sliver. Oh, you got him.
All right.
Dreadful legend.
Cool. So we're going to leave it at that.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us and joining us for the stream.
I don't know. I know how to use these buttons.
Yeah. Thanks again. This was a lot of fun. I think Yojimbo is going to kill me in the background. You guys can't quite see it. He's just appeared out of nowhere with a red giant. High-level Final Fantasy 15 is when the game is at its best, I think. And if you like the game at all, I encourage you to stick with it and get to those really challenging battles because there's a lot of great rewards, and you'll see stuff you never even thought existed in the game. You can follow me on Twitter at PCBrown. Justin, you are just Justin Haywald, is that right? So thanks for watching, and we got a lot more Final Fantasy stuff on GameSpot, so go over there to check it out. Take care.
Bye.